Greetings. Among evangelical Christian people, for certain, there is a great discrepancy in the understanding of who the sheep are. There's a waterfront of opinion, no question about it, and these are people who are genuinely struggling to try to unravel some of the mysteries in the Bible. And the mystery of the sheep in Matthew 25 versus the goats in Matthew 25, there is no question that that is a puzzle. And when we're working with the box of saved and lost and making everything try and fit into that framework, very difficult. In fact, it can't work, but we keep trying to make it work. And so in this session, the first session, I'm going to propose 12 points that would, in a court of law, would be my case against the fact that any of these sheep are born-again believers or people that got saved during the tribulation. All of the common presentation for the vast majority of believers has to do with those two aspects. One is that these are mortal believers who got saved during the tribulation and now are going to go into the millennial kingdom as mortals, because we have this problem in Isaiah 65 where we see people procreating, and we have to find some people who are doing that and being capable of doing that, because it's more than clear in Scripture that believers, genuine born-again believers who have been put into the millennial kingdom, are not going to be having babies. So we have to find somebody who is. And this is the tension on this. So I'm just going to give you this list, and then in the next session, I'll go through the verses that tie with each of these points. I have the scripture verses tied with each point so that it'll be easy for us all to follow and cross-reference. And I'm trying a new thing in this session, and that is that when I actually load this video that I'm talking to you now up on YouTube, one half of the screen will be me talking, and the other half will be this list of characteristics that you can follow along, and then subsequently with the verses that will match these, okay? So it's a little bit of juggling on my part and a learning curve, a fairly good one. So let's start with these, and we'll just go through these fairly quickly, and then we'll put into time of talking about them when we actually go on the verses. So I've entitled this Characteristics of the Sheep in Matthew chapter 25. Number 1, these sheep remain human, including their capacity for reproduction. Number 2, they can age. Number 3, they can die. Number 4, they can be deceived. Number 5, they can be devoured by fire from heaven. Number 6, they require perpetual healing in eternity. Number 7, they are distinct from the New Jerusalem. Number 8, they are the men referred to as the tabernacle of God is with men. Number 9, they have a particular kingdom prepared for them from the foundation of the world. Number 10, their kingdom was prepared for them by the Lord's Father. There's a specific point there. Number 11, they have access to the city but are not part of the city. And number 12, they will be ruled over by the saints forever in eternity. Many times people have asked me over the years, well, who are we going to reign over? We're all saved. Who are we going to reign over? But that's because, just say this kindly, in my generation, say probably since around the early 1900s, when John Nelson Darby came here to North America and he began to teach his doctrines about dispensationalism and the rapture, people really were hungry for something like that, and they just focused on that. But other brothers in the 1800s, mid 1800s, late 1800s in England, particularly coming from the Brethren movement there, wrote on many of these points quite exhaustively. And there are many books. I have a good number of books from brothers that wrote on those things in their time frame. And there's a publisher in the United States who has taken on the burden to republish quite a number of these books, and they're very rich and quite interesting. And they cover and deal with all kinds of these points, which have been basically completely ignored for sure in Christianity, the Baptist, the non-denominational, the Pentecostals, all of us have completely abdicated from any of this. So there's a hole that would give the, oh, that makes sense, realization for eternity. So those are the ones, and I just want to introduce them to you because I'm not going to commentary on them. We're going to go point one, and then I've listed at point one verse. We'll go through the verse in the next session and cover that all off. The reason that I'm focusing so strongly on this matter of the sheep is for a number of reasons. One is it's just so crucial to understanding God's eternal purpose. And secondly, it's been so misapplied and so thwarted from the powerful impact of what God's grand plan is. And then we come with things like, well, we're forcing people to get saved in the tribulation, and then they go into the millennium having mortal bodies that we have no idea how or when they would ever be glorified, and all that. It just, the thing, you might feel like you have an answer right here, but as this thing moves forward, it gets worse and worse and worse, to ultimately some could be consumed by fire because they've been deceived by the devil when he's loosed and go up to fight against the camp of the saints. So it gets pretty crazy. So I'll stop here, and in the next session we'll go through the verse that lines up with this question and this comment, and then we'll kind of tie it together. I just want to be able to have you see on the screen as I'm going through these things the real meat of it, okay? So God bless you, and we'll keep going.